Hey everybody, and welcome to a brand new PTCGO game I have for you. Today I'm going to be playing Durant, everybody's favourite deck, but some people requested it and it's still a pretty good deck, to be honest. There's not much it's lost and there's a couple of things that it's gained. I just want to show people how the deck works and possibly give some hints on how to play against it as well. So let's just see when the game sets up and see what kind of hand we've got. So luckily we don't mulligan, but we do start with an excellent hand, depending on what's prized, of course. So we just wait a second for the program to kick in and see who goes first. Obviously our hand isn't card perfect because we don't have an energy, but at least we have the pawn in there and we get to go first. So we draw Poker Gear off our top deck, and now we've got 3 different search cards we can use. Ideally, I'd like to use Collector to grab all the stuff I need straight away, but because we need that first turn energy drop, I want to be able to use Pont this turn. So I go ahead and level ball and find, of course, one of my Durants are prized. So I get the Durant, could have got the Rotom just to start Mischievous Tricking straight away, which is a viable option and maybe should have done that, but I need to get some more heads on this dual ball. I get one, which is expected, and now I go and grab the Rotom. So just did it a bit back to front. I'll be able to Mischievous Trick, but I don't think I want to do that yet because I will be shuffling the deck. I play Poker Gear, even though I do know I'm going to play Pont. A lot of people wonder why people do this, but that's because, well, in this deck I run 4 Poker Gear, but you run Junk Arm as well, so having a Poker Gear in the discard pile gives you more chance of drawing into a Poker Gear because you run now 3 and 4 Junk Arms. You haven't got a lot of chance of having a dead hand, and you have a way to get out of it. So I use Pont and Mischievous Trick to try and find that Durant. Luckily, draw into the energy and just use Devour for 2 this time. Not the ideal start, but at least we're getting there. And they start with 2 Dynamos, so they're going to be playing some variant of Zekrom Eels. They play down the Skyro Bridge, which is good because they run the 40 HP Dynamo, but bad because I could just keep retreating my Durants and avoid them getting knocked out as freely as I like without wasting energy. So they go ahead, Communication in to get a Cleffer, and looks like they've got an awful hand, so they're just going to Eek. That gives me an extra turn, so I'm not too bothered about that. So into our turn, doesn't really matter if they wake up or not, and top deck an Eviolite, so our Mischievous Trick was not the Durant we wanted. Now this hand is questionable. You would want to attach the Eviolite this turn, but I'm thinking over whether to attach it to the active or the bench. Now I know that Thunderous is pretty good against Durant, and a Eviolite and a Special Metal on the same Durant does keep it at bay for a little bit, depending on plus power use. So I attached the Eviolite to the bench one and almost attached the second energy, but because they have Sky Arrow Bridge out, it doesn't actually matter where I put my energy because I can save it in my hand and wait to attack rather than needing to use it just in case they catch something up. But as you can see, I draw into Special Metal anyway, and I've got that Durant set up for any possible Thunderous that can come later on in the game. So I use Mischievous Trick before devouring for 2 again, try and find that Durant, and Devour for 2. Get rid of 2 Lightning Energy. It's pretty good for them, to be honest, if they get double Electric. Well, it kind of tempts a double Electric that I really want them to play, because then I can capture it up and start stalling as much as possible. And that's exactly what they do. They put down Electric, and then they go ahead and put down a Zekrom EX. Now Zekrom EX is not the best card against Durant. If you flip heads the majority of the time with Glinting Claw, then it can be okay, but like a Special Metal and Eviolite can make that into a 2-shot, which we have got on the bench, and it's just not the best card because you're going to have to get 4 energy on it to do a strong Volt to get KOs every single turn, and Question Hammer and Lost Remover are going to play big parts in getting that attack off every turn. Now as you saw just then, they collected for a Snivy, Cleffer and another Zekrom EX and benched it, which is an incredibly bad thing to do. Now they've got, well, first of all, I'm not really sure what Superior is doing in this deck. It's not the best. Most things are going to get 1-hit code in this format, and 10 damage per turn isn't really a lot at all. Second, Zekrom EX has a 2 retreat cost, exactly the same as an electric. So I now have 3 different targets to bring up with Catcher. If they'd have left that second Zekrom EX in the hand, then I would only have been able to target one of them. But now they put down a second electric, which now gives me 4 Catcher targets. So if I do get a steady stream of catchers, which you should expect from Durant, I'm going to have 3 different Pokemon with no energy to catch her up. Now you can use Dynamo effectively to avoid having to pay such hefty retreat costs in one turn, because you can Dynamo the energy onto the bench Pokemon so that you can retreat them later if they get captured up. But that's not what they've done. So onto our turn, they Eek again, which gets more cards out of the deck for us, and we find that we don't chop deck the Durant, but what we do is Mischievous Trick, our 3rd card, Play Collector, and we do find the 4th Durant in there, so it works nicely. So I Collector for the 2 Durants, the only 2 Pokemon in the deck, and bench them both, and now I'll be devouring for 4, which are optimum amount of Durants. So I'm going to catch up that Zekrom EX. Could have gone for an electric. Doesn't really matter. They're going to need double colours in hand either way. Debate attaching the energy, but I don't really need to. Just conserve it for now and go ahead and devour for 4. So get rid of another energy, Snivy, Superior, and a Pokemon Communication. And let's see if they do indeed have the double colourless. That lightning energy we have been putting in the discard pile has been helping them out a ton, but they have had to get electrics out to make the most of that, which is going to help us out a ton. So we'll have to see how that pans out in the rest of the game. Just wait for them, and they do have the double colours in hand, so they will be able to retreat and use an attack this turn. And if I do remember correctly, I had just put a lightning energy in the discard pile, but I'm not sure whether they Dynamo to it or not. So we do see a level ball from them, and they get their second Cleffa back. And my guess, yeah, they don't Dynamo to that energy unless I missed it just now. And they could have strong vaulted if they needed to, but now they're going to have to get heads on Glinting Claw to knock out my Durant. So let's see if they attack and see what happens. They get Tails, so we're going to survive another turn with 4 Durants without needing to use Revive, and we've got a pretty strong hand, to be honest. We're not a prize down yet, so we can't use Twins, but we've got Revive in hand for when that Durant in the active spot does get KO'd, and we've also got the energy to put onto any other Durant before we use our Junipers. So here, I'm using Mischievous Trick even though we found all our Durants so far, and that's because important things could be prized, so it's a good idea to keep cycling around your deck and put cards from your prizes into your deck and vice versa, and just keep doing that for the rest of the game. That keeps your deck flowing and could possibly help you out in the long run, to be honest. So back to the game, and we devour for 4 again, and their deck's starting to look pretty thin already, and they haven't taken any prizes yet. That's the problem with Zekrom EX. Not the best attacker, and they probably would have been better off going with normal Zekrom. So what they do here is attach a double colourless, which means they will need to they could strong vault the next turn, and they don't need the heads this time and KO the first Durant to take their first prize. So what we've got to focus on here is keeping a steady stream of Durants, and I have the energy in hand to put onto that Durant. Could have retreated for free if I needed to. I have the Revive in hand to get the Durant back, and I don't really need to Juniper here because I can Twins and get what I need just for the next turns, and Juniper when I really need to. So with Twins, I'm going to grab a Loss Remover, which puts them in a position where they need another energy to strong vault. And to be honest, I shouldn't have got the Crushing Hammer. If I got heads on Crushing Hammer, then it'd be great, but I should have got a catcher here just to catch up the electric, but I don't think it matters too much, even though we get Tails on the Crushing Hammer. If I had got the catcher, I could have brought up the electric and forced them to have even more energy in their hand than they would need now. But that was just a slight misplay on my part. So I carry on Mischievous Tricking, just as I said, cycling the cards around in the deck, and go for another Devour. Let's get rid of Super Scoop Up, which could have been quite good for them, to be honest. I could have scooped up electrics or heavy treat Pokemon I put in the active spot, but now it's gone. Unless they run Junk Arm, which of course is expected, they're going to need to get it back. So they do have the energy in hand to attach to Zekrom EX, and I'm expecting a strong Volt out of them this turn, which will one-hit KO Durant, bring them to 4 prizes, and I think they're on about 19 cards now. Check in a second. So yeah, I send up my Eviolighted Durant with Special Metal, which means that they won't be able to Glinting Claw, even with a Heads. So now I do what I should have done last turn, and catch up the Electric, which we top-decked actually, which is quite good. And use Mischievous Trick, as I said earlier, just cycling again. And I debate using the Juniper, and I do. So off this hand, if we get a decent amount of cards, a decent set of useful cards, then we should be in for a game winner here. Essentially, I was looking for the Revive to get the 4th Durant out of the discard pile, which has just been KO'd, and we draw into 3 Junk Arms, which is amazing. So I get rid of the Prism because they're not using Zekrom. I'm not going to be able to use Rotom and the Dual Ball because there's no Pokemon left in the deck, and just play Revive, get that 4th Durant back, and they've only got 14 cards left in their deck with 4 prizes left to take and an Electric stuck in the active spot. Pair that with the Super Scoop Up and the double colourless that I just discarded, and they're in a pretty tight spot with only, I say, well, 2 turns left after they draw. So they Dynamotor onto the bench, which hints that they do have a way to retreat. Could be in Switch or double colourless. Yeah, they've got the Switch in hand. So they switch into their Zekrom, and I'd expect a strong Volt here. Okay, they attach another double colourless, they had double colourless in hand as well. It's a bit hasty, to be honest, unless they discard it with strong Volt, which they should have done, because otherwise I can Lost Remover and put them at 2 less energy. That means they've discarded 4 energy effectively for their strong Volt, and they don't have the double colourless in hand to retreat. So I would have liked to see them keep that in hand if I was them, but we can just prey on that, and because they didn't do it, we can prey on that and try and stall them for as long as possible. So I use a Twins. I need that energy desperately, and I think I grab another Twins. There's no point going for risky things like Crushing Hammer, because we've got this game almost in the bag with them needing to take 3 prizes with only 2 turns left. We just need to keep the stream of Durants going. We've got the Revive in hand to get the 4th Durant, and we only need to find 1 more energy and 1 more Revive next turn to win the game and deck them out, unless they have a Pont or N or something crazy like that in their hand. So use Devour, get rid of Lightning, Catcher, Servine and Rare Candy. And they've only got 4 cards, so they've got, well, this turn to take a prize or make their deck bigger through like Super Rod, N, Pont, anything. But because in our hand we've got Twins, we're going to be able to grab 2 cards that we need, essentially reviving the energy if this Durant gets KO'd. And do they have... yeah, they've got enough energy to do a strong Volt, which brings them down to 2 prizes. But as we know, this game is now over because they weren't able to replenish their deck. They've got 4 cards left. We've top-decked the energy, so we didn't even need the Twins in the end. And I'm able to Junk on for a Revive, and that leaves us with 4 Durants in play, 4 cards left in their deck, and simply use Devour for the game. So, as I'm finishing off this game, Zekrom EX, as a final point, Zekrom EX isn't the best against Durant. It can be okay if you're forced to start with it, but hoarding double colourlesses in your hand and having ways to replenish your deck like Super Rod, I don't think I've seen one, is a good idea in decks. But if you're a Zekrom Electric player, go for Thunderous. Thunderous is an amazing starter if you can get it out, and free retreat Dynamos are awesome as well, and normal Zekrom because you can Bolt Strike twice, KO the Durants, and then finish them off with Outrages. Just watch out for that Prism Energy and the Plasma Arrow from Rotom. So overall, a good game showing how Durant can just completely mill the deck, even if the opponent does get a decent start. I do feel that Durant is competitive and probably will stay competitive for a long time, even when Heatmore comes out, but that's a discussion for a later time. So thanks for watching, and please leave a like in the bottom left hand corner if you did enjoy the video, and I'll see you next time.